Okay, good afternoon. It's November 27th, 2018. I'm here with September McConnell from the Whitley County Community Foundation. I'm Deb Lawrence, and this video is for the Whitley County Oral History Project. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks for agreeing to do this, Deb. I think it's great.
Okay, so tell us what the foundation is and how it came about.
Sure. The Community Foundation is a public charity. It differs from a private charity from the simple fact that lots of people can give gifts here. Usually in a private foundation, there's one person with wealth that uses it for a specific area of interest. But in community foundations, we can just about hit any area of community needs in terms of making grants. So health and human services, education, parks and recreation, anything that is really for the good of the community, we can make grants to. And the reason we're able to do that is that individuals in this community who are very generous give us their gifts, and we are able then to distribute them to different causes in the community where the need's the greatest. So the foundation started back in 1991, really generated by Lilly Endowment out of Indianapolis. And Lilly, at that point in time, up until that point of time, the endowment that's part of, related to the family who started the pharmaceutical company down there, had really put a lot of interest in Marion County and Indianapolis, but really the whole scope of what they can do really fed out to the whole state of Indiana. And they realized that when they got grant requests from little communities like Whitley County, they didn't know whether or not a specific request was viable or if the project was good. And so they kind of started thinking about what is the best means of helping these communities grow philanthropically. And so in the early 90s, they created what's called GIFT, and it's Giving Indiana Funds for Tomorrow. And a few Lilly reps came up here to Whitley County and talked to some community leaders. Specifically, Kay Fleck was one, and John Whiteleather, and talked a little bit about what it would look like to start a community foundation in Whitley County, and made the offer that if they were willing and interested, that Lilly would not only provide financial resources, but also the technical assistance that's needed to make a project like that successful. So thankfully, they were takers. They liked the idea. They liked knowing what could happen to Whitley County as a result of a foundation. I will tell you that at the time, apparently, that Lilly started that, there were many naysayers that kind of thought that it was going to fall flat on its face. In the philanthropic world, people didn't think that little rural communities like a Whitley County could generate the kind of funding necessary to run a foundation. And Lilly kind of said, no, we think differently. We think we're going to give this a shot. And I think today they would tell you it's probably one of the projects they're most proud of. Every county in the state has a community foundation now, thanks in large part to Lilly Endowment. I think that while we're grateful for everything they do for us today, down the road, it's going to be looked on as a renaissance in this state, in that they created something that is going to have a lasting effect on the good of the community and the whole state, really. So.
Well, that's neat. So, I don't know if you call them members or whatever. How many?
There are no members. So we're run by a board of directors. We're a nonprofit organization run by a board of directors. Anybody can make a gift, and that's the real beauty, I think, of community foundations. I was at a marketing meeting once, and I had somebody from the Chicago Trust sitting next to me and somebody from New York, and they kind of scoffed at the idea that we accepted $20 gifts. And I said, well, that's how this foundation has been built largely. You know, there's a capacity for anybody from any walk of life to make a gift to something they care about. So whether it's a $5 gift or a $5,000 gift, we can take all those gifts and steer them wherever the individual's needs or desires are. So.
Okay. Do you have specific names for awards, or?
There aren't necessarily awards. So, you know, I tell people all the time that it's very hard to do a 5-minute elevator speech on what a community foundation is. I think people sometimes get to know us based upon experiences with us. So, for example, if a parent has a child getting ready to graduate high school, they might know us because we hold most of the scholarships in Whitley County for kids going on to college. If you work for a nonprofit organization or a library, you might know us because you've gotten a grant from the Community Foundation. Sometimes when people pass away, they'll direct memorial gifts here. And so people will be writing a check out and say, oh, it goes to the Community Foundation. And so they know us in that respect. But there's a lot of things that we do. Community foundations are kind of a three-legged stool. We are here first and foremost to serve donors and help donors meet their charitable wishes. Secondly, we have to be that resource to know what's going on in the community for the different nonprofit organizations and what their needs might be. And then the third leg of the stool is to be a catalyst and convener. And our role in that respect is to kind of be this neutral Switzerland who can look at an issue or a challenge in the community and bring together different groups to look at how we might be able to address certain needs.
So that's how the grants are done. You get different groups together, you figure out what their needs are,
Sometimes.
and then the board of directors.
Right. So we have a board, and then we have the staff here. It's a small staff. We have Vanessa Bills, who is our COO, and she handles the grant making end of things. Sheena Stewart is our business manager. And then there's just me. So John Lefevre recently joined us to help with some development work, but it's a small staff, and we rely a lot on volunteers. So for example, there's a volunteer committee that comes together twice a year to review grant applications. And so December 1st and May 1st, we accept requests, and then everybody filters through and reads all the requests and asks questions. And with whatever pot of money is available at that point in time, we are able then to divvy it up into grants.
Okay. So if you wanted to apply for a grant, is there a form online?
There is an online grant application, and usually it needs to be somebody who is affiliated with a 501c3 nonprofit organization. There have been instances when we've been able to make grants to other entities, as long as it's about community good and doing good work in the community. We can usually find a way to grant funds out.
Okay.
What else can I tell you? So for as many people as they thought, thought there would never be success in the community foundation world, we're here now. We're in our 27th year.
Right.
So and really, I tell people all the time, it's because we have a very generous community. I think Whitley County does a really good job of taking care of one another when people are in need, and when they see something that needs to happen. There's a real willingness to come together over it. And so, I tell people all the time, when I first moved to town, it was in the late 80s. And I think at that point in time, the only philanthropy people knew was buying Girl Scout cookies or putting money in the church plate. There just wasn't a lot. And at that time, they were just trying to get the YMCA going. And so the Community Foundation kind of stepped out and made a grant to build that new Y. And at the time, I think it was about $75,000, which was a huge grant for us to be making at that early stage. And in fact, it was encumbered over, I think, 3 years. So we granted $25,000 a year. Now we're granting out, $1 million plus in grants every year.
Wow.
Our unrestricted grant making, it's about $300,000 plus. So just about any place you want to look in the community, you can see that it's been touched by the Community Foundation, whether it's the library, the YMCA, Passages, the Humane Society, BABE, you name it. The parks, we helped with the new aquatic facility that was built in our backyard, so to speak. And it's really been a very gratifying experience to be able to tie into local needs and really help to address things that, for a long time there was no pot to go to, so to speak. We are really the only foundation right now operating in Whitley County. The hospital has one that operates specifically for Parkview and builds things for Parkview's needs. There's a new foundation coming to the community that is a private foundation, and it is going to be focused on manufacturing skills and getting people ready for jobs in the manufacturing environment, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the unique thing about community foundations is we can pivot. So today we might be focused on an education need, and in 3 or 4 months we could be totally turned around and looking at something that the parks want to do or another need that's arising. So that's kind of an exciting, it never gets boring here. It's, that's for sure. Things change on a daily basis, so that's always good.
All right, well, cool. Well, I do notice that you're in a very unique building.
We are, it's a beautiful building, a great building. When I first came to the foundation, we were in an old office above Eslick, Gervin, and Lefevre Insurance downtown.
Oh, wow.
And it was a one-room office, and we soon realized we were hearing each other's conversations, and it was not working so well. So at that point in time, this building had been used as the school administration building, and they had moved out of it and was sitting empty. And so they invited us in and said, you know, if you'd like to set up here, we'll do it for $1 a year, which was a great
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah.
great deal. Except it was in really bad shape. It had the house was built in the 1860s, and in fact, the builders left to go fight in the Civil War and thought that they would be back in a short period of time, and were actually gone for a lot longer than they thought they were going to
Wow.
be. So, interestingly enough, the same family lived in the house until the time came that they built the high school next door. And it never got to be eminent domain, but the school wanted the grounds. There was a dairy farm and an apple orchard behind here. And so the family moved out, and the school took over, and it served a great purpose for a long period of time. But when the school moved over into the Marshall building, this building kind of just sat, and it needed a lot of TLC. So we moved into it thinking we maybe just a room at a time we'd be able to tackle and address the different needs that it had. And about that time, Lilly Endowment came back to us and said, you know, it's time that you start to look like the foundation you're growing into. So here's a grant. Go build a building or remodel what you have. You make your decisions what you want to do with it, but here's some money for that. So we had a sizable gift that allowed us to really take this building and rehab it from top to bottom. So there was no central air conditioning, and when I come into the office, there'd be snow on my windowsills every morning when I come in. So it was a labor of love and a big project that took about a year to get completed from start to finish. But we love coming to work here every day, and we think that it's a really great reflection of what the Community Foundation's about. You know, we're kind of rooted in history and rooted here for the long haul. A lot of people don't understand that endowment funds, the way they work is that when somebody makes a gift to us, we never ever spend that gift. Instead, it's invested, and the earnings off of that investment then are what are used to make scholarships or make grants. So the idea of endowments is really perpetuity. That this organization will be here for as long as there's a Whitley County, and continue doing good with the money that was given years and years ago. So
Yeah, I know.
pretty great model.
The library has an endowment from Mr. Peabody that, and a lot of people didn't understand that. You know, what he actually gave has never been touched.
It's right. It's just been invested, and we pool everybody's investments, which is a unique way to leverage more investment buying power. So
Well, it makes perfect sense.
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're finished for today.
Well,
But
thanks for your
you.
interest. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and hopefully now people will understand a little bit better what
That's
what
true.
you're here for.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.